Hello and welcome back to Adrenala of the Good Life. It's good to be here. How have you been? So the last time we were here, I hope you've been great, awesome, fabulous. We thank God for bringing us back again. Thank you for being here. If you're not here, I'll just be talking into thin air or something. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you for engaging and from all my family, friends, and everyone that has subscribed. I really appreciate you. Thank you ever so much. Today, I want to talk to us about, firstly, I'm going to just get to it really. I'm going to put a title. So there was a book that came out many years ago. I don't remember when exactly. It was called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Yeah, if you know that book, it was written by Stephen Covey. And that book was a hit, back to back. A lot of people used it. When I say a lot of people, companies, organizations, small groups, different kinds of groups, churches used it. I know about churches, people preached around it. Why? Because if you notice the 7 habits, which I'm going to list out, they are not far from gospel truth. They are not far from Bible truth, right? They're not far from just what we should engage in daily. And these habits, right, they are what? Be proactive. So being proactive is just by taking initiative and all those kind of things. You could use other words for them. Begin with the end in mind. Have a goal, have a purpose. Put first things first. That's to prioritize. You see, these are just things that we've always known about, but he just put them succinctly so that some of us like key points and all. Yeah, things like that. Then think win-win. Think win-win, that nobody has to lose, right? I came first. Yeah, the other person to maybe that came second had like a 0.1 difference or something. So think win-win, seek first to understand, then to be understood. That's habit 5. Am I going too fast? The first one is be proactive. The second one is begin with the end in mind. Then the third one is put first things first. 4, think win-win. Number 5 says seek first to understand, then to be understood. That's putting others before yourself in every way, shape, and form. The next one is synergize. Look for how to collaborate, how to do things together. Doesn't have to be only one person that will take the lead in terms of whether it's in organizational setting or family setting. It doesn't have to be just one person taking the lead, even though that person may be the leader in terms of designation, but we should synergize, we should come together and do things together. Then it says sharpen the saw. And that book was really, really a hit. I mean, it was all over the place. Everybody read that book. And I'm sure it's not everybody. It's not everybody. Even I didn't read it at the very beginning when it came out. But that book was a blessing to a lot of people. And I realized that Stephen Covey was a Christian. He was someone not just that followed moral principles, but his convictions were based on God and on Christ. Yeah. Then he brought out a book, The 8th Habit. the 8th habit. Oh, I said the 8th habit, right? So this book is all talking about everything he had written in the first book, in the 7 habits. And this habit, what's it all about? It's just talking about finding your voice. After you have done all these things, after you have put all these habits together, then it's all for one purpose, really. It's the end of everything is that you should be able to find your voice after being proactive. So it's not just about beating around, or not beating around the bush, but it's not just about going all around being busy and being active, being efficient, being productive, but the end in mind. It says to be able to find your voice. You must be able to put everything. The 7 habits must come together concisely, and the aim and the objective at the end of everything is that you have a voice and you also help others find their voice. This book has really blessed me. This is my 3rd time of reading it. I try not to read my books just once because there is a wealth of knowledge. In fact, in this book, he encouraged that, because I think there are 12 chapters, that if you want to take it 1 chapter a month, it will be very, very productive that way. It will help you because you can go back. So it's in my library and I just pick it once a while to read, and so are other books that I have. I just want to read out a few things that I've learned from this book. If you want to get it, that's fine. I'm sure bookshops have it if you can look for them. And there are certain points that in this book that I've really pinpointed. Honestly, it just talks about us being able to find our voice. What does it mean to find your voice? For instance, what I'm doing now, I could have easily said everybody's on YouTube. A lot of people say a lot of things. I don't even know how many accounts. Last time I heard that how many accounts, maybe millions and millions, tens of millions of accounts of YouTube channels, you know. But I could have decided, well, everybody can get what I want to say. What I want to say is not new. So we don't know. It may be just a word. It may be someone we know. It may be someone we do not know. It may be a word in season, spoken in season, that will be of blessing. So I'm not saying everybody should open YouTube channel. If you don't feel like, that's up to you. But let us never dim our voice. Let us believe that, you know, whatever we have. In fact, when we say what we have to say, sometimes, you know, it will record in your mind, and then you'll be like, that, what did it really make sense? But guess what? Even if it didn't totally make full sense to you, someone must have caught something. That was a video I did, and someone caught something not totally different, but, you know, in a different way. Because when you listen to something, you're listening to have understanding, to gain insight. And so the insight may come in a different way. It happens to me in church. Pastor may be preaching, and I'm not, my thought is not derailing or drifting away, but it may just be something he said that will just trigger something else that will help me understand something else better. So it's really important to find our voice. There's something here, and of course everything that I've marked are so important. That's what I was just looking through, but this thing really caught me, and the subtitle was or is semantics and the superior nature of spiritual intelligence. So don't think too much of the spiritual aspect. Just think of because he mentioned in this book there are 4 kinds of intelligence: the physical intelligence, emotional intelligence, which a lot of people have now become more familiar with, and it talks here about the spiritual intelligence as well. So let me just read it. And the spiritual intelligence really talks more to your conscience. So being emotional intelligence, you want to do things the right way. You want some things to come through, like empathy and all that. But spiritual intelligence has to do also with intuition. So you have to connect. And of course, if you have the Holy Spirit within you, the Holy Spirit is able to help you navigate or know how to bring out or how to do certain things. There are certain things I have said in my life that I won't do. But the love of God constrained me. And that is such a blessing, for God's love to constrain us. Why is it that some of us, we know what to do? If everybody knows what to do, right? In our very conscience, we know the right thing, but why do we go to the wrong thing? We may say it's the devil. No, it's just because at that point we don't have enough, not emotional now, but the enough spiritual. Our conscience hasn't gotten to a place where we connect and say, listen, I shouldn't do it. Because when you have that understanding, not book knowledge, not mental accent, but a deep understanding, that's a spiritual. That's like, I shouldn't do it, or I should do this. It's good to be kind, but someone now comes to you and you begin to rationalize, this person, how am I sure that this person is not fake? You may go away and decide, well, look, this person comes all the time, or these kinds of people, they are the same. But as you are in your private place, you can just be led and just, it's the Holy Spirit that will just tell you that, go and do that, do something. Or it could lead you, if the person asks for X, the Holy Spirit can give you insight and say, this is what you should do for the person. So that's just what I wanted to say. Anyway, let me read this. When the history of the world and of institutions, societies, communities, families, and individuals is finally written, the dominant theme will be the degree to which people have lived, not by their socialized conscience, not just by your emotions, but by their divine conscience. It's not trying to say that you have 2 different consciences, but sometimes we may want to emotionally appeal to something, the emotional appeal. But your true conscience, that's the true conscience. That is the innate, intuitive wisdom contained in the principles or natural laws that are taught in all the major religions and enduring philosophies of the world. It won't be geopolitics, economics, government, wars, social culture, art, education, or churches. The moral or spiritual dimension, how true, that means It's talking about the moral or spiritual dimension now. How true people and institutions are to universal, timeless principles of right and wrong. How true are you to the universal principles? What principles do you even know in the first place that guide you? That will be the overarching and underlying supreme governing force. It's telling us here that in the end, it's what we do based on principles, natural principles that will make sense at the end. Do you understand? When the laws are written, when history is being written, right? Either about individuals or about anything, it is what guided that family, is about what guided that individual. Yeah, it's food for thought, because I just like to throw viewpoints here and for us to do as we deem fit. I hope this blessed you. You'll be like, this is just a tip of the iceberg, but for me, I like to find meaning. For instance, this topic in itself may not really give you the meaning. We have some Nollywood movies that once you hear the title, you already know where they are going. So if you can check it online, maybe online you can get an e-copy, whatever it is. But the basic theme of the book is to find your voice. After having had all the 7 habits, which he was able to concisely summarize, 7 habits, just doing the right things and all that, it helps to make the world a better place. And we don't always get it all the time, right? We're not perfect, but I believe in a force, if you like to call it that is super natural, that is more beyond us. That force that created us. God is also a force, is more than a force, but is the one who created it. If we can look to him to find not just our purpose, eventually our purpose, but to help us navigate life, to help us be the driving force, intuition, wisdom, like I don't want to do this, but I know it's the right thing to do, that kind of thing. It really helps to make the world a better place. But in the final analysis, it will also help cultivate a relationship with him. I'm telling you, people who have gone through, who hold on to these kinds of habits, or who hold on to kinds of lifestyle, they've gone on to have very great relationships with God. And that's desire at the end of the day, that we're not just beating around the bush, being aimless and just being busy. I understand this busy life. I can imagine, I relate with that a lot. The busyness of life, it is demanding and it is real, but I feel that we should never put aside meaning of life. The 8th habit that he's talking about here is just really, for me, meaning of the whole thing. So that when you found meaning in things, you will never do things haphazardly. You will never do things just because, let me just do it. I understand people have had to do things just because there is no choice. You do something to be able to get to where you want to go, and that even shows that you have begun with the end in mind, because this is not your final destination, right? So that is good. And even kudos to those kinds of people who have been able to say, see, I have to do this to be able to get to where I'm going. But even that should be guided by principles. Remember that natural principles, you cannot fault them. They're not lies. They're not just facts that you can either say is true or not, that you can judge, or you can legalize, what's the word now, that you can judge against and say, no, this is a fact. No, they are truths. So truth is something that is enduring. They are enduring, they are lasting. There is nothing you can do about it. It's like gravity. If you go up, you will come down. You can't stop at the 5th floor and say you want to fall. I pray that we'll find meaning in our lives. And if we found meaning, I'm hoping that you're enjoying the good life. Meaning is so important. I was having a discussion. I usually like to talk with my children, and I like to ask questions. I asked one today, why, what's the best thing about being a student? What do you like best? So she, was telling me about education, academics, and then went on to talk about, gisting. I said, okay, now tell me, which one do you prefer? And it was like, oh, if I said this, you will feel. I said, no, this isn't about me. I was begging. I know this is your private space. This is your private thoughts. Please, can you just let me into your thoughts? And it's amazing when you people are able to get meaning from things like that. And I encourage us to. It thought just came to me, but let me finish. I encourage us to really get into the depth of who we are. Not because we want to be a psychologist, but everybody needs psychology. I was talking to someone during the week, and he was really talking about a lot of things, and I was like, wow, this person is not a psychologist, but I think in the line of work, psychology is needed. It is needed everywhere, either as a boss in your office, as a employer, employee, mom, dad, child. You need, and psychology is not those kind of fake. I know that mommy will come now. Let me just let me go and do this. They will still find the mommy psychology is not here. Am I correct? Even daddy psychology. Some of our dads, they'll be doing as if they are reading. Meanwhile, they know. I'm like, this guy that behaves as if he doesn't even know what's up. Hey, you'll be shocked. So don't say how deep can I get. I don't want to be too deep. And some people have, that's what I was going to say before, being deep. Some people have kind of, should I almost water it down, being too deep. Don't have to be deep. Life is not that serious. Hey, some of these people, but I don't look at them. Some of them are actually very serious people. I know some people who don't like to come across as serious, but they are very serious minded. All right. So being serious is not about frowning or about wearing certain kinds of outfits. Being serious is just disposition to life. So it's deep. We need to get deep into ourselves, and it's not really about trauma now. It's not only trauma now, but to be deep with yourself. Ask yourself certain questions so that you can arrive at at least a level position, and then from there you can begin to allow God work in you, walk through you, walk all around you, and enjoy the good life. Have a lovely day, and till I see you the next time, it's Adola of the Good Life. Thank you for watching. Bye.